Now, I know this is a controversial series. I honestly did not think I was gonna like this book. I love this book. I was so close to not finishing it. I don't think they're well written. Hello, welcome. My name is Claire. I hope you're doing well. And today we're going to be going through my highest rated and lowest rated books from 2022 on my Goodreads. So grab yourself a little beverage. I'm drinking some peppermint tea in this really cute mug. I don't know if you guys can make out, but it says, "You got this." So daily reminder, you've got this. Let's get into it. I'm gonna record my screen so you guys can see what's going on. I need to be honest, I am very easily pleased when it comes to any kind of content like books, TV shows, anything. Like, I'm kind of like a goldfish. I don't know if that's the right comparison. If I enjoyed it and I read it, I give it 5 stars. I'm trying to be better this year about being more like not harsh, reasonable perhaps with my reviews, because I'm looking at my Goodreads now and I have a lot of 5-star books. So I'm gonna go through like 5 that are like my top 5-star books. So first here we have A Court of Mist and Fury and A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. Now, I know this is a controversial series. I love it. I read Throne of Glass first and I didn't love it, so I put off reading ACOTAR for like a little while. It's basically, if you don't know what it's about, it's a fantasy fae series, and the main character, Feyre, accidentally kills a fairy in his shifter form. So one of the fairy princes, oh my god, it's been so long since I read it, lords maybe, comes and takes her to the fairy world to serve like a sentence basically for killing a fairy. He has ulterior motives for doing so, for taking her instead of killing her. The first book I feel like is very different from the rest of the series. The first book is almost like a standalone story. There's trials that she goes through, and I'm a sucker for trials. It's not on here because I actually gave the first book 4 stars, but the second 2 I loved. I'm a huge Reese fan, so that is honestly the main reason that I gave these books 5 stars. Next we can see I have 6 of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, which if you watch my last video I talked about. I read that this year, so that doesn't really count, so I'm not going to include that, but I love it. So next on the list we have The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I honestly did not think I was going to like this book, and I put off reading it for a really long time, but then I got it from the library and I think I read it in a day. Like, it was in summer and I just sat in the backyard and drank iced tea and read this book, and it was a vibe. It has summer book energy, and it's basically this journalist who does a final interview with Evelyn Hugo, who is like a famous actress, and she hasn't done any sort of press for years and years, but she will only do an interview with this person, and there's a reason why that we don't find out until later in the book. Lots of twists, a very, very interesting character study. They really feel like real people, so if you haven't read it, it's a 5-star book for me. Next we have House of Earth and Blood, also a Sarah J. Maas book. I'm so sorry if you're a Sarah J. Maas hater. I understand, I get it, but I devour these books. This one is really interesting because it's like a urban fantasy, so whereas the other ones were like Fey world in the forest and technology doesn't exist and everyone's in famine, this is more like takes place in a modern city setting, which I think is really interesting. The characters are great. This is definitely like an adult series. I think her other Throne of Glass and some of ACOTAR are YA, but this one is definitely adult, and it's a long book. It took me a while to get into. I feel like a lot of fantasy books are like this because the world building is kind of confusing at first, but I highly recommend giving it a try even if you didn't like Throne of Glass or ACOTAR, because I feel like it's pretty different. If you can see, next I have The Trials of Apollo by Rick Riordan. I am a huge Percy Jackson fan. The insane amount of Greek mythology knowledge I acquired solely from reading Percy Jackson is wild, and I read The Trials of Apollo last January. It was kind of like the series that got me back into reading after like not reading much for a while, and I loved it. I know some people might think, like, it is obviously a children's-ish series, like a teen series, but I thought it was so well done, and especially the 3rd, 4th, and 5th book, which are what I have on my 5-star rating. They're so well written, and they're so interesting, and they're like kind of dark. If you were a Percy Jackson fan and you haven't read the series, I do recommend. I really enjoyed it, and it was nice to kind of delve back into that world. There are a few Percy cameos and like other character cameos here and there throughout the book. Okay, I'm gonna talk about one more. We're gonna skip Tower of Dawn because I only gave that 5 stars because I am a Kale stan. Oh my god, guys, I gave too many books 5 stars. We're gonna go past a couple of these because I want to pick the ones that I actually genuinely are like above the other 5 stars, that like could be 6-star reads, you know? I promise I'm gonna be better this year about not giving every book I read 5 stars. The last book I'm probably gonna talk about is Loveless. I love this book. It changed my life. It's so good. I mean, if you've read anything by Alice Oseman, her work is incredible. It's so beautiful. It's so well written. It's a story of friendship and self-discovery and queerness, and it's so amazing. They're an incredible writer. They give such good representation, and everything that she writes is just so full of joy. And now we're gonna get to the juicy stuff, which is the books that I gave, I'm not gonna say 1 star because I think I only gave one book 1 star. I told you, I am easy to please. So the lowest rated book I have, the only book that I gave 1 star, is The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna butcher that. This book. Okay, I think I bought this because it was like a $1.99 Kindle deal or something. And I was like, oh, it'll just be like a little romance book. No, I was so close to not finishing it, and I am not a person that doesn't finish books. Like, I will finish. I can't start a book and not finish it. I almost stopped reading this book. The internalized misogyny is so strong. It is very I'm not like other girls trope. The characters have no depth. They're super flat. I didn't care about any of them. And then it's like this dumb like miscommunication buildup, and then at like 80%, this is a spoiler. If you're gonna read this book, I'm sorry, this is a spoiler. You can skip ahead. They just kill someone. Like, one of the characters just dies in a like car crash, and then the rest of the book is them just like mourning him, and it took his death for them to like get together. So yeah, I hated this book. I would not recommend it. I keep getting recommended the next book in the series on my Kindle. They're like, read the rest of the series. No, I refuse. I will not. The next 2 books I gave 2 stars to, and this is where I realized very quickly that I am not a Tessa Bailey fan, because I think I saw it recommended on BookTok, one of her books, and every book of hers I read has been 3 stars or lower. I can't. I don't think they're well written. I know people love her. She's like the spice queen or whatever, and her books have a lot of spice, so if that's what you're looking for, like, it might be for you. The stories, they're really cheesy, cliche, predictable, and the same kind of trope for every single one. I feel like a lot of them, the whole plot is just miscommunication, and that's such a pet peeve of mine in romance books, because if it's just frustrating to read. I don't want to read it. I have no interest in reading it if they're just gonna be dumb for the entire book. So I read Fix Her Up and My Killer Vacation. I was actually really excited for My Killer Vacation. I was like, wow, like a murder mystery romance book, count me in. And it wasn't good, and I was really sad about that. And you can see Throne of Glasses there next, because that first book took me a hot minute to get through, and I didn't think it was very well written, but in Sarah J Maas's defense, I think she wrote it when she was like 15. So yeah, those are all my highest rated books and lowest rated books from 2022. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe. I'm going to be posting every week more book contents and some work life fashion stuff kind of sprinkled in. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.